As the clock strikes 7, the vibes are alive. Inner circles here, where voices thrive. Turn on your screens, magic unfold. Listening and healing as stories are told. Come on, come on, this is your time. No topics too tough, just heed the calls. From mental health woes to justice we seek. Together we rise for the strong and the meek. A safe space for all, let's lift every voice. Inner Circle podcast where hearts unite. Sharing our truths, bringing hope to the light. Community strong, we're never alone. Together as one, we've created a home. With laughter and love, we break down the walls. No topics too tough, just heed the calls. From mental health woes to justice we seek. Together we rise for the strong and the meek. A safe space for all, let's lift every voice. So join the conversation, let's set the tone. Inner Circle podcast where love is well known.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Today is Thursday, March 13th, and tonight our topic is side hustle and entrepreneurship in immigrant communities. As you know, right, immigrants are some of the most resilient and resourceful entrepreneurs, right? So we like to do our 9 to 5 and also have our side hustles and things like that. So tonight we're going to be deep diving into, side hustle and entrepreneurship in our community. So you can join us. This is your community show, Circle Podcast. You can join us by subscribing to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter or X. Follow us on LinkedIn and anywhere you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. So join the conversation tonight. Let us build Black wealth. Let us build immigrant wealth. And things like that. Let us change our narrative. Let us change our community. I'm your host, Abe Kamara, as usual. And tonight, we have my man Peterson from the great city of Chicago, the Windy City. Peterson, welcome, man.
Hey, good evening. Welcome, everybody. This is Peterson from Chicago. Windy City. Weather's been pretty nice the past couple of weeks, but you never know. We might get that one last winter storm before spring hits. But welcome to the show. Tune in, and your contribution is welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, man. It's like the weather been crazy, right? So like tomorrow is gonna be 70 degree in the Twin Cities, and then on Saturday they say it's gonna have a snowstorm. It's been, it's the Midwest for you, right? It's the Midwest for you, right? It's the
Tomorrow.
Midwest for you, right? 1 minute is like, yeah, it's like we're going from 70 tomorrow and then to 30s. It's like, man, it's
Yeah,
like that's
we
that's what
dropped
you're
from
saying.
4 to like 37 on Saturday, then back up to like 60 the next day.
Yeah,
So it's
crazy. That's the
yeah,
Midwest for you. Yeah, yeah. That's the beauty of living in the Midwest. Well, anyway,
right.
folks, you can contribute to the conversation tonight by putting a comment in the chat. Calling our number 817 600 1525. Peterson, man, do you own a side hustle?
Not really. I did have something, but it never
Okay.
like picked up, or I didn't put the time into it because of busy schedules. But yeah, it is a good idea to actually have something and have that mindset of becoming an entrepreneur because I mean everything that's big starts small, so it's a good idea to always have that little hustle on the side.
Yeah, the thing about it though, right, in other communities, right, folks just get right into it.
Right.
Somehow, in our community, we try to go the side hustle route, and then
Hmm.
from there, drag it a little bit. If it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, go back to our regular 9 to 5, like in your case, as you said, right? Why do you think that might be though, right? In other communities, it's so much focus. Say, hey man, if I'm going to do this business, I'm going to put my business plan together, my
Yeah.
marketing plan, and get all of my ducks in a row and just get started. Versus me versus going a side hustle route? Why do you think that what is driving that difference?
Yeah, I think the big part of that has to do with having that entrepreneurship like mindset
Hmm.
of being business minded. A lot of immigrants, especially the West Africans, we
Hmm.
have business minded, but it's on a different level because we of like table market. When you come from Liberia, you talk about a
Yeah.
little table market
Hmm.
versus a supermarket.
Yeah.
So uh, first, we don't have the working capital to start
Right.
something big. So um, we do not tap into the resources that is around us as well. So
Mhm.
we usually start small because we're not thinking big. Like I have a lot of friends and associates who somebody will start something like if they're females, they'll say, "Oh, I want to start like lashes business," and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
and be selling lashes to friends.
Yeah.
But then if they see somebody else selling lashes, it's like, oh, well, somebody else is doing that, so I'm not gonna like do it. Then they try
Yeah.
to into something else. So we don't have that streamlined focus to say, okay, I'm going to start this, and whether it fails or not, I'm going to see it to the end. We want to just start small, and also our customer base,
Mhm.
we it's too narrow. We don't like to like broaden our customer base, so that's why a lot of the side hustles do not thrive.
I'm glad you brought a customer base up, right? Is it like, as you said, like we don't put in the time to do that? Some of these things, if, for example, a Caucasian or any other, even folks from other parts of West Africa or something like that, other parts of Africa or other immigrants, they will follow the normal route of trying to establish a business where, in like, do a business plan, as I said, right? Do a marketing plan, do a
Hmm.
SWOT analysis, all of those good things that go into there, right? Versus you just getting up, and jumping into it without knowing whether you even have the customer, right? And to your point, you see a lot of, you see a lot of folks in our community, right? I mean, to the
Right.
artist example that you raised earlier, or someone who will go and maybe and open a store to do boutique, to set a
Hmm.
boutique.
Hmm.
They might stay there like 2, 3, 6 months, or maybe open an African store, right? You say, oh
Yep.
God, I mean, there's a potential to that. But once you look like 1 year later, it's gone out of business. Is it
Right.
that, I mean, the thought process, the effort to put in, I mean, to do market research, right? So, I mean, first of all, do I have the customers? And who are those customers? Are they going to actually, if I open a business, are they going to come along? And we don't really do that. So even when we go the side hustle route or maybe go like full time into the business, it doesn't
Hmm.
last.
It does not. So yeah, that's what I said about the customer base. Like you said, we do not actually put time into doing the research to say, oh, okay, who is my target audience? Who are the
Mhm.
customers?
Mhm.
For a lot of Africans, we want to cater to people of the same like culture or same background. So
Mhm.
if you open like a restaurant,
Mhm.
most
Mhm.
African restaurants they will start in their own kitchen.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
if you are Liberian and you're cooking, you're gonna only cook like Liberian food to start with.
Mhm. Mhm.
So your customer base is very small.
Yeah.
But we need to have the thought process of okay, if I'm setting up something. I mean, like Walmart. If you go
Yeah.
to a Walmart, Walmart is not only like you go there for electronics, you go for groceries, you go for
Yeah.
clothes, you go for
Yeah.
basically
Everything.
one everything
Yeah.
that you
Yeah. Yeah.
want.
One stop shop. Yeah.
Walmart to get it. So
Yeah.
they are not serving. They're not saying in a community like, oh, okay, we're not going to sell like electronics to people, or we sell only certain type of bread to people
Mhm.
and things like that. So with that, they did their research and then they came up with the business idea like, okay, in order to attract more like diverse customers, we
Mhm.
need to have um, products that serve those people.
Yeah.
So we do not have that idea, and I think that's kind of the thing that puts a lot of
Oh,
immigrants.
yeah.
It's almost like a disappointment because when you think about it, like, man, how am I going to come up with like a business plan? How do
Yeah.
I like do this research? What time do I have? Because remember now, the population we're talking about, the immigrants, they already have a 9 to 5, or they have two 9 to 5s.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
where they're going to find the time to actually pour into that side hustle to actually make it a thing.
Okay. And I think like I'm glad like you brought up the restaurant stuff, right? Like in Minnesota where we live, right? It's a lot of, home based like brand restaurants, right?
Yeah,
Home based like brand sometimes you wonder because or even like let's just go to the West African, immigrants community. I
right.
think they want to I mean I think they can really cook. But for them to skilled up, right? Get out of
Hmm.
the house and come
Yep.
establish your business, right? Sometimes you will see like you have Mexican restaurants all over the place. You
Yes.
have, you might have like Ethiopian restaurants. Why can't we have a maybe West African or Liberian restaurant? Because like the food is actually good, but we are not what taking it and securing it up and making it
Hmm.
for the
Hmm.
general public. So
Right.
first and foremost, say when I because American love food, right?
Yes. Yes.
Americans love food. So so if we can just scale it up, and like maybe the jollof rice, right? I mean, there's a competition, I mean, there's a joke, right? Who cooks the best jollof in Africa? I mean, or in West Africa,
Well,
right?
the other people, it is a joke on the other people
Yeah,
part,
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah,
we all know where the best jollof
yeah,
comes from.
yeah, definitely. No, but my point is, right? Instead of that being a side hustle, why
Right.
can't it be scaled up, like to benefit a larger population? Because at the end of the day, that person might do it, in a house or in a little environment, and
Hmm.
it just doesn't go anywhere. It becomes a side hustle. That dream just died. And that's
Yeah,
the frustrating part about it, to your point, it becomes so frustrating. It's like you started this side hustle, you got a dream, and some of these ladies or some of these folks can really cook.
they can. They can.
And,
Yeah.
yeah,
Some
so
of
it's
them
like,
they can actually cook. But when you think about it, other populations, like you talk about, there's like a Mexican store
yeah.
here or a Mexican
Mhm,
store here.
mhm.
Uh, Even if it
Or
was started by,
Asian
yeah,
restaurant.
it's a restaurant. If it was,
You-
it's a restaurant. What
yeah,
they do, they will employ their neighbors. They will employ their own people to be like, okay, well, come and join. Let's make this big. But a lot of times, for I want to just say Liberians,
mhm.
we want to we don't want to divide the credit. We don't want to say, oh, this person's involved, this person's involved. I want it to be mine. If I started, I would say, oh, this is Peterson's restaurant, and my name would be on there. I want to take all the credit. Even if somebody else is working in there, I don't want them to be seen. I want to take on all the credit. But when you start something, well, with the end goal of making it big, you
Yeah.
don't have to narrow yourself and say, "Oh, okay, I'm going to limit it to just me alone, my family,
Mhm,
and that's it." You have to make sure you invite other people. Uh, I was in a workshop recently, and we talk about teamwork and
mhm.
having that output. How if you have a lot of different ideas of
Yes.
people coming together, it's going to make there will be one bright idea in there that you can all go with. But if you think you like know it all, you are, and you don't, of course, have the time to put in, you
Yeah.
don't have the starting capital, as I
Mhm.
said, because if you are living paycheck to paycheck,
Yeah.
and in order to start something, if it's a little side hustle and your intention is to make that grow, you need to
Yeah.
have some liquid like
I mean, yeah,
things
liquid cash. I mean, you have cash. You have some liquid
to
asset
have
laying
cash.
on something like
Yeah,
yeah.
you need to
That
have
you
some
can convert.
assets
Yeah.
in order for you to be able to even go and say you are borrowing to make that grow. You need to come up with something to start with, and you have to present something to the lenders. But for us, if you start something in your kitchen, how long is it going to take you to actually raise that liquid cash to say, oh, okay, I have some 70, $80,000 saved up. Now I can take it to the lenders and say, okay, can you guys like support me? And of course, being from the immigrant background,
Mhm.
the obstacles are there.
Mhm.
You have loops and things to jump through before you can even get to that point.
Yeah. But the thing is though, right? I mean, like right now, right? Some of the common side hustles in our community, right? You have the Uber, you have the Uber or the Lyft,
Yep.
you have the Amazon and things like that.
Yeah.
Someone might be doing
Hmm.
that, but what we are noticing in the community, right? That's that as a side hustle, but then some folks take it to be a what full-time gig.
Full-time
But
job.
then
Yep.
even when they make it a full-time gig, it's not like, okay, I'm getting into this. I see like it already makes me money. I can control my own schedule. But then
Right.
to the point again, where they don't scale it up, right? To maybe like
Yeah.
where you can have your own transportation business, because that should be the
It's the,
essence of it, right? That should be, to
right.
me, that should be the essence of it. But it just at the end of the day, the side hustle, right? Sometimes it just become
Mhm.
another, another income stream to say, right, to try to get back. And I think
Yeah.
that's the and we have the entrepreneurship mindset in our community. Most of us do, right? We have the
Mhm.
entrepreneurship mindset. The fact is, in order to build wealth or to
Yeah.
build back wealth, we need to make it a profitable, right? Turn it into a real business, and to your point earlier, to
Mhm.
employ or to bring other folks on board as partners.
Yes.
We're not doing that. Sometimes you just want to, as you said, I mean, Peterson restaurant or or a boutique. We don't want
Yeah.
to say, hey, how can we join as a community? So
Mhm.
instead of one person owning a barber shop like every corner, we can all join together, right? And
Yep.
open and open one big barber shop. We all work there, right? Everyone come and
Yep.
we share that. I mean, and we share the revenue. But those
Yeah.
are things that you don't really see in our community. How can we change that? How can we change those narratives, right? For us to say, no, look, man, you might have the idea, you might be the best cook, right?
Mhm.
Or you might be the best barber, but if we can all put our resources together, I think we can what? We can actually make a difference and we can do better.
Yeah. So, in order for that to happen, we have to change our mindset. And it's like we're always saying on the show about our background and our culture and our upbringings and stuff like that. So, growing
Mhm.
up in Africa, if you were even if you weren't old enough before coming here, you notice that when it comes to business, it's like it's a sole proprietary thing. Everybody want to do their own. So you go to real life and you see pepe, 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 pepe. It's like everything is lined up, and the competition, of course, is there. But we need to let go of this mindset that, oh, if I bring somebody in as a partner, that they're gonna like steal my thunder or steal my idea, or they're gonna like learn from me and then go and start up something of their own. And I think is I don't know if it's a fear of I don't know what would it be, fear of missing your money or something, because we have this mindset. If I'm working for an employer and I see another immigrant and I see they have the qualification to do
Yeah,
this job I'm doing, and there's an open position at my job,
yeah,
I'm not gonna tell that person like, "Hey, guess what?
yeah,
Resume, let me take it over there
yeah.
and get a referral." No, I'm not gonna
Why?
do that.
I mean, like, yeah, I mean, you brought another interesting point of why you think that is. Well, why are we afraid of each other, right?
It's
I mean, in the
I don't
business
know.
world, in the
Is the
corporate world,
trust?
why are we so much afraid of each other?
We do not trust each other, and it's all about that mindset. Like, oh, if I bring this person into my space, into where I work, maybe they're going to take my job, or they're going because now if you go out into the corporate world,
Mhm, mhm.
uh, if you go to Taco Bell,
Yeah, yeah,
you will see, okay, or you go to 7-Eleven, you will
yeah,
see the guy at the front, the cashier is an Indian guy. The
yeah,
one that is stocking is an Indian guy. The
yeah,
one that comes at night to the car wash is an
yeah,
Indian guy.
yeah,
Because they are not thinking like, oh, okay, this person is going to take food out of my mouth. No,
yeah,
there's enough to go around. There's plenty to go around. If I bring another immigrant or another person that I know, another acquaintance or associate to my job, I shouldn't have the mindset like, oh, this person is coming now. My salary is going to be decreased, or they're going to. I'm not going to get a promotion that I'm supposed to get stuff. So we need to change our mindset. I think
yeah.
that's the start.
Yeah. Well, folks, tonight we are discussing side hustle and entrepreneurship in immigrant communities, right? Immigrants, as I said earlier, they are the most resilient people, they are the most resourceful people. But the problem we have in our African immigrant community is like we talk about community all the time on Inner Circle podcast, but we don't really practice community. We don't really practice the collective, the collaboration, the working together as a team, the teamwork. It's not in our community. And here at Inner Circle podcast, this is something we want to drive all the time, right? So you can contribute to the conversation by calling our number 817-600-1525 or putting a comment in the chat. Do you have a side hustle? Are you an entrepreneur to your core, right? Let us know, man. And what's a side hustle? And how's the side hustle doing, right? Is it a distraction, or is it bringing that extra income and, making you some extra bread, as our folks like to say, right? So making that extra bread, making sure, right, that you can not only you can pay your bills, but maybe putting some rainy day funds aside or making some investment. So I want to hear from you. You can put a comment in the chat or call our number 817-600-1525. But again, right to your point about the whole collective thing of trusting one another and and helping out one another. Like you see the Asian do that all the time, right? Is that you see the Asian store, it's not only like you see the cashier, the
Mm-hmm.
manager, you know,
Mm-hmm.
everyone that is Asian, right? And so
Yep.
someone comes that they're gonna incorporate it into that. It's
Yep.
like, they say, hey man, and once you look where you have the first Asian grocery store, the next thing you know, another Asian grocery store, and it just
Mm-hmm.
keep expanding, it just keep expanding. Why? And sometimes we are the biggest consumers of these facilities.
Yes.
Why don't we
I
do the
was just
same?
about to say that
Right?
because
Why
it's
don't we
like,
do the same? Right? It's not that they are working on magic. Some of the food they are
no,
selling is food that we actually know very well. It's
yes,
food that we are very, very,
yes.
accustomed to.
Uh-huh.
Why can't we do the same?
Like it's like I was telling somebody that I was in a workshop and the person said they're from Minnesota. I'm like, oh, I have a lot of family and friends in Minnesota, and we go there on an annual basis to the farmers market in Minnesota.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
But you would think that when we come to Minnesota and go to the Minneapolis or the St. Paul Farmers Market or the
Yeah.
one they have right there in I think Brooklyn Center,
Yeah. Broken Power, Broken Center. Yeah.
you would think Brooklyn Park, Brooklyn Center being like what is it, like 70% immigrants,
Yeah.
that it would be the West Africans that are running those like farmsteads.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's like 90% Asians.
100% Asian. It's the most
100%
community that dominated. And like, the African immigrant community comes from all over,
Yes,
right?
we come from all over and go, and we are
Yeah,
shopping from, we are
yeah,
buying from those people. And I mean, in terms of the economy, we are making things better for them
yeah,
because those farmers, not only are they getting government subsidies and
yeah,
other discounts and stuff, but
yeah.
sometimes the lands they have, they
Hmm.
don't have to pay like certain tax and things like
Yeah.
that. They get certain tax breaks, but we need to sit and look at these other populations, immigrant populations, and say, okay, what are they doing that they are getting ahead?
Yeah.
And why are we so stagnant? We are so segregated, so apart from away from each other. We don't want to come together. What is it that they are doing?
Yeah.
And we need to sometimes like watch and say, okay, if we implement some of these ideas and some of the things that they are doing,
Hmm.
let's try something new. Try
Yeah.
something.
Hmm.
They used to say, if you don't try, you'll never know.
Right, right. Life is a risk, right? You have to take that risk, and business as a whole is a risk. I mean,
Yep.
even a side hustle you might be doing though, right? It's a risk where you decided, hey man, I see this, I think it's gonna be profitable, so I'm gonna try it. But sometimes, like trying it at the end of the day, you gotta know, right? Is this something that I can do by myself, or can I bring other people on board, right? And I think like in our community though, do we need, if you say like you talk about changing our mindset or maybe
Yeah.
trying to learn from other immigrant groups, other folks like the Asian, the Mexican, what are they doing differently? What do we need to do? Do we like need to maybe like offer training for one another, right? Like the beauty about Cyber Podcast, like I always like to say, right, we are tackling conversation to me. You've is really going to benefit our community because these are
Right.
things like how can we come together collectively? But in order to change our mindset, do we need to, I mean, bring expert in our community to offer training, to do things that, because we are in the greatest country in the world, right? Where
Yeah.
business, I mean, it's like business is the number one, gateway to success, right? You can
Right.
do your 9 to 5 or or work 2 or 3 jobs all you want. But
Mhm.
without that business, sometimes right, you're just going to be someone who might, who might live all your life, trying to
Yeah.
make someone else's wage.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So, if uh, yes, we need experts or people who have expertise in certain areas to come
Hmm.
into the community. Well, they don't even have to come into the community; they are already in the community because
Hmm.
there are some brilliant entrepreneurs and people with business mindsets who are
Hmm.
well educated that live
Yeah.
in our community,
Hmm.
but we need to give them the opportunity to train those of us who are business minded and who wants to go in. If you see in your neighborhood or in your community, if you see a young man that even though he has a 9 to 5, but
Hmm.
he's also doing this side hustle, like maybe some delivery service thing, or
Hmm.
whenever there is he's doing like a courier service. He
Yeah.
brings
Yeah.
packages
Yeah.
to people and things like that.
Mhm.
It's left up to us to encourage that person, not to try to downplay and say, "Oh, this one, he's not gonna go nowhere. He will just like, keep doing that thing, and then he will
Yeah.
go back to his 9 to 5." We need to encourage people, and also, like you asked earlier, what are the other communities doing? Like the Asian, the Mexicans, the Indians, and stuff. They work together. It's collaboration. They come together and they put their differences aside and say, okay, this is for the sole purpose of business and getting ahead. So if I start something small and I say, okay, Ed, let's partner up and do this business. It's business. It's not something to make a person, even if the person is family, even if it's a family member or the relative that both of you
Mhm.
are partnering up, it's not something to like bring your personal feelings into it
Yeah.
and try to something. You have to separate that and make it strictly about business and trying to build the wealth, like you said.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing though, right, that is interesting, right, too, is that we don't really patronize or support one another in terms of even like those of us that are, I mean, on the side of the customer, right, the customer base. I said
Yes.
sometimes, yeah, even sometimes the customer base is not very strong, but
Hmm.
the customer base that's there sometimes, right, is like the support system is not there, right? You see your
Right.
boutique somewhere.
Hmm.
It's like instead of you gonna support it or Liberian restaurant, or or Ghanaian restaurant, instead of you going to patronize it, you don't really do it, right? You
Yep.
say, hey
Yep.
man, you rather go to a Mexican restaurant or to an Asian restaurant. And
Hmm.
sometimes man, like these Asian fried rice, I've been wondering why would someone leave a jollof rice and go get an Asian fried rice? But the answer is we don't have any restaurant that offer
Yeah.
jollof rice or
Hmm.
the West African fried rice. So at the end of the day, you end up with a choice that that's not really there because if someone established a restaurant, no one in our community is going to support them. So
Yep.
sometimes just why the customer base even do not support the small businesses, those that have those side hustles, right? These are some of the problems we are facing in the community.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
is so true. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Miss B, welcome to the show. We as you know very well, we are discussing our side hustle and entrepreneurship in our community, in the immigrant communities, and we are basically focusing on the African community because it seems to be a challenge in our community, right? Is like scaling. There are a lot of side hustles in our community, but we don't scale them up. So, welcome to the show.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. This is my topic. I'd like to talk about the side hustle and entrepreneurship. And honestly, I work a lot with our immigrant businesses, our BIPOC businesses. And when I say BIPOC, that means Black, Indigenous, and people of color. So I'm talking Latinos, Asians. Basically, those are the businesses that I work with a lot on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just so many things that we do that is culturally norm, but not necessarily what the market calls for,
Mm-hmm.
not what the industry calls for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the ethnic economy has been successful to an extent
Mm-hmm.
because of the communities that they reside in,
Yeah.
right? So if you're ethnic business and you're in a business in a community that is predominantly the that target market of
Yeah.
yours,
Yeah.
you have successful. But unfortunately, what happens as the community demographics change, if you are not scaling your business up to what the market is asking for and what the industry needs you to scale your business to, then we find a lot of our businesses are leaving, right? And they're not continuing to be successful as they were. So
Yeah.
I have a lot to say about our restaurants.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you in that space, right? I'm glad you brought that up. You in that space working with them. What's the greatest challenge? Why are they not scaling up? What, I mean, what's the reason they are not scaling up?
One, to be honest, some people they don't want to. They just want to manage the little mom and pop thing that they have going on. And and they're scared of, sometimes it's fear. They're scared of growing too big, and means more things they have to manage and more people they have to manage. But some of them, they're really stuck in some of the traditional ways in which that market mentality in Africa or
Hmm.
Asia, or even Mexico, right?
Hmm.
And not that, okay, now I'm a restaurant in Western America. What does my customer service needs to look like? What does my ambience needs to look like, right?
Hmm.
How is my food preparation supposed to look like? Still remaining authentic to, the type of food. It's the taste we want, really, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
how it's served to us, we want it to look different. Right now, if
Hmm.
I'm eating fufu and soup, I don't necessarily need it to look like I'm in a Kobo shop. I can be in fine dining restaurant
Yeah,
and eat my fufu and soup out of good silverware,
yeah.
have good seating, set the table is set nice and not too much. I don't like the fact they use the old fake flowers. Yeah.
Yeah. But Peterson though, right? I mean that's a great point. Peterson, that's a great point right there, right? Like if you travel to Africa, a lot of those, folks, that travel to Africa, things like that, right? You see the fine dining with a specific food that Miss B is talking about. These food. Is it I mean the finest, the fine dining, right? Those food are served
Mhm.
well, it's like the place is so nice. The man, it's a nice
Yeah,
restaurant. But they are selling this very food that we are accustomed to. Why,
Yeah.
when we come here, we don't do it because that's a food. It's a food, right? It's like any American. I bet you the food and sushi you talk about, right? Sometimes if you have your American friends that come to, a West African gathering, man, they love that.
They do.
It's
yeah,
like they love these foods. Why are we not scaling it up here?
It's the
yeah. So
preparation
it's
and
like what
presentation.
Ms. B was saying. There are many factors that go into that. So some might be the fear of, like, okay, how do I prepare the food to still meet FDA standards? Because once you get out of your kitchen and bring it out, now the government is involved. They have to come and inspect and make sure that everything is up to standard. And a
Mhm.
lot of people, they have that fear like, am I going to pass this inspection? Where do I get the money to buy all this like huge equipment that I need and stuff like that? And if I'm going to make this big, I'm going to need some money. Where do I go to borrow it? And we don't know, the resources are around us, like I said earlier,
Yeah,
but
and,
we
and that's the
don't,
point I was trying to get to. Right? That's the point.
there are a lot
You see,
of obstacles in the way, because if you are West African immigrant and you want to start a restaurant, if you
Mhm.
go to the bank, you're not just going to walk straight to the bank and be like, oh, okay, well, we're going to sign and give you this. You have to jump through a lot of hoops to get to that person that will actually lend you the money.
Yeah, but Peterson, though, I don't think let's not even get to the bank, right? I mean, there are
Okay,
a lot of businesses sometimes can even I can say can get started if they tap into the right resources, right? Like the
right.
community we just been talking about here.
Hmm.
If you try to open a Liberian restaurant and some Liberians here got some loose cash sitting, not loose cash, but reserve cash sitting somewhere, right?
Yeah.
If you try to bring them in as partners, right, for you guys to say, hey, man, even a food inspection store you might be afraid of, right?
Hmm.
You can get help. Sometimes the city or the county or government, the very government is willing to help you, right?
Yeah.
True.
But Miss B, you are in that space. Why is it that they're not getting enough education for them to say, look, man, look, man, this thing here is not as hard. If the Asian are doing it, right? Sometimes you walk into some Asian restaurant, man, it's like you don't want to eat those food, but hey, that's the only option you have, right? So
So
what's the
even
fear?
so it's that cultural way of even representing the ambiance. So you will see a lot of the Asian restaurants that were normally in the market were buffets, and you will see a lot of them are fading out,
Yep.
right? they're losing that clientele because again, how my food is prepared, what it looks like when it comes to the table to me, and where I'm sitting to eat it, it all matters. Ambiance is important.
Mm.
And I would say like there's 3D's African Kitchen in Crystal, Minnesota. Just got a new management, but it was owned by a Liberian woman for years, and now it's owned by Kafta. Forgive me, I think Kafta is Nigerian. But her restaurant looks really nice,
Okay.
really nice. It's upscale. It's really nice, right?
Mhm.
And she's gonna give you that ambiance and then that presentation with the food when it reaches your table. But she's probably one of out of maybe five African restaurants, not just Liberian, but just African restaurants, period, here in Minnesota that I can tell you say will meet the level of equivalent to an Olive Garden, maybe, or
Mm.
maybe a Applebee's, right? And
Mhm.
that's where we want, and not, I'm not saying in the size, like the space size, right?
Right.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
restaurants realize that they had too much large footprint. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
But just the presentation and the
Mhm.
look of the space, right? Because my
Mhm.
family, we eat out a lot. Like
Mhm.
everybody
Mhm.
knows me. We
Yeah.
eat a lot, right?
Mhm.
And so ambiance we want to get that feeling when we get in there, we smell that good scent, and then when the food comes to us, it makes us to want to eat the food even more. And then if the food tastes good, oh, we're definitely gonna be back. And
Yeah.
I think that's what's missing for a lot of our businesses. What you're trying to get out, Abraham, is that fact they look like the Kobo shop in Liberia. And honestly, is that some of them are far removed from post-war because right now when you go back to Liberia, you have the Boulevard.
Alice.
Uh,
Alice.
yes, you
Mhm.
have. I mean, the skills and level of dining I'm seeing in Liberia surpasses the level of dining here in America when it's a Liberian owned restaurant or lounge area.
Mhm.
Another place I can think about is the Purple Rose Lounge.
Mm.
Not sure if he has like a full menu, but his place is nice. The
Okay.
setup is nice. He gives you that ambiance. So there's two places I just named in there in Crystal that people like to go. The ambiance is there. The food is good. We just need more people to step into that arena. Waterside is a pick up and go. It's not to sit down and eat. It's carry out.
Okay.
And we have some of those and they work, right? So
Okay.
waterside is carry out. You're not gonna sit in there and eat. You're gonna grab your food and go in. It's running like a buffet line, really.
Mhm.
But that works, right? There's a
Mhm.
time and a place for that. Because if you're gonna grab dinner, either you're gonna grab lunch on your way to work or after work, you're gonna grab dinner for the family. That's the place you can go. It's ready to go and it won't take up too much time. But if I'm trying to sit down and eat with my family, those two places that I just talked about are most likely what I'm gonna patronize.
Peterson, is there anything in Chicago like Miss B is referencing? Is there anything in Chicago? I know there's some stuff in Philadelphia, right? I'm not that sure, but is there
Yeah.
anything in
In
the Windy
Chicago,
City?
as far as Liberian own,
West African, let's just take. I mean, let's
yeah,
not
yeah,
like
yeah.
West African, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
West
West
African,
African.
yeah,
Yeah,
African. I mean,
there
yeah,
are
West
there are
African, African.
few West African restaurants that you can go to. A couple of them are owned by Nigerians, and they started out. Of course, it was being patronized by West Africans, but now the one that's closest to me, when you go in there, you barely even see like Africans. It's like all Caucasians.
And that's the thing. That's the thing. And to me, that's the problem I'm trying to get at, right? Is like if
Yep.
you want to scale in this country, you cannot just stay and Miss Brewer mentioned it. You cannot just stay within your community. You gotta,
Right.
I mean, you gotta branch out. And
Yep.
sometimes that's the biggest challenge. I think the barriers like we face in our community, right? Someone, oh yeah,
Mhm.
you know what? Like we'll be talking, you know what? Broken Park is well out like Burnside. So you should establish that in Broken Park. Well, are you just trying to do this for Liberians or the West African community? Or you trying to make this a business so anyone,
Exactly.
anyone can come in and say,
Right.
look, man, maybe I like your product or I like your service. The ambience stuff is being referenced. Oh yeah, I like to come here because the place is nice, the food smells good, the food tastes good, the place is clean. It's like, how can we get away from that mindset and say, you know what, I only want to serve this small community, right? I only want to serve this community. How can we branch out? Because you hear that a lot. Anytime a Liberian person establishes something, hey, Broken Park is where all Liberians are, that's where they want to be. Or maybe to your point, where wherever in Chicago you have a lot of Liberians congregating, that's where the business want to be. And the businesses do not last. How can we change that, Miss B?
For me, and I try to tell them all the time, the menu, because I tell them, I said, any restaurant you go in America, and that's including Latino, Asian, or Caucasian restaurant, they're gonna have meat options. You won't have all the meats in the pot.
Yep.
Very seldomly, maybe some Latino dishes will have that. Spanish, Mexican dishes will have that, right? But for us, you put meat in the pot that people are not even accustomed to on a regular basis. Chicken feet, uh,
Turkey neck, turkey
Pork
neck.
neck bones. Pig's
I
feet.
agree.
and so, and then when I say that, they say, "Oh, but the food is only sweet when you have all those things." And I said, "No, that is not true. You give people a meat, like a beef, a
Mhm.
chicken, a
Yeah.
pork, and a fish option, and you will be fine." And honestly, it's more affordable for them to cook when they're doing it this way too. Because what's really making the food to taste good is the seasoning, that broth. Every soup if you think about it, starts with a pepper soup type
Yep.
broth that we cook. If you're gonna fry the greens, you're gonna fry the greens separate. You're not gonna fry the greens with all the meat inside. No, you fry the greens first, and you have that pot boil with all your meat and everything in that broth. You mixing it together. Then you're gonna put your oil in it for whatever that dish is supposed to be at the end of the day. Same way if you're making gravy. So given that you can have the meat separate from you preparing the greens, why don't you have several options? You have just fish, chicken, and shrimp and beef. I think that's the first start, right, on the menu, is
Mhm.
how we're offering the food. Yes, it can still be authentic to the taste.
Yeah.
Red oil will still be authentic to the taste, right? That fried okra will still be authentic to the taste. But when you talk about that meat options, right, and how it's going to look in the dish,
Hmm.
mean top chefs, I'm telling you, from Gordon to Emerald, their biggest thing is how that food looks on that dish. Sometimes to me, even more than taste.
Mhm.
When they're bringing that plate out to you, any big top chef, like I forget the name that every chef tries to get awarded, they always want to be particular about how that food looks when it comes to that customer on that plate. We
Yep.
could care less about all that, my people, and that's some of the things that we're struggling with too. To be honest, they
Hmm.
don't want somebody to tell them how to manage their business. They really don't like the coaching. They don't like the advice. Just because you know how to cook does not mean you are ready to manage and run a restaurant, especially here in America. It's not like in Africa where, like I said, you just have your pot, you cooking your food on that hot stove, you grab bowls and you put it in there, and you dish it out, and the people come and buy it and go, no, it's different. And so I may know how to cook and season, but I don't know how to manage a staff. I may not know how to delegate the operations to my staff. I may
Hmm.
not know how to work that cash register. And when I'm
Yeah.
going in there trying to do it all, you're providing bad customer service. Customer service is important. Don't think because Liberian people are coming to your restaurant, they don't deserve customer service. That's the biggest mistake we make. And it's like if the home does not sell you, the street will not buy you. So if
Okay.
we, your target audience of Liberian people, cannot say anything good about you, and we're not frequenting your place, then the likelihood of you scaling up and growing your business is already about to be limited. And then you'll find yourself, you'll be out of business.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point. Well, folks, tonight we are discussing side hustle and entrepreneurship in our community, in the immigrant community, and we are specifically focused on the African immigrant community because like, there are a lot of side hustles in our community, but we don't scale it up. We don't have that big time business. You know, you see, hey, Miss B has this boutique or has this store, is doing well, or has this restaurant. It's a five class restaurant. You know, got a lot of reviews. You know, and things like that. You know, we don't have that in our community. How can we do that, right? But here's the thing, though, right? I know, we've been focusing on the restaurant piece, but folks, anyway, let me say this word again. Put a comment in the chat or call our number 817-600-1525. Let's stick to the whole side hustle thing. Is it like if we are trying to do side hustle and do our 9 to 5 or whatever else job you are doing, does it become a distraction? Miss B, I'll start with you.
I would say first and foremost, the side hustle should become something you are most likely doing in your 9 to 5. That's the first avenue for showing success in that side hustle. If you don't do hair for your 9 to 5, you should not be trying to go do hair. unless you are willing to take the time to go and learn how to do hair. Seriously, that's a distraction. Oftentimes, when I see people in consultancy, they've worked for maybe, let's just say they work for 3M for years, right? And they have that experience working with engineering or developing product, right? And so now when I say I'm going to open my consulting firm, I understand the 3Ms and the Honeywells and the Boston Scientifics and the Medtronics. So those will become my customers. I did it for 10, 15 years working there. I've learned the operations of that business. You're mostly successful when you leave a business that you've been learning the operations in, you've been understanding the market, and leave that business now to go start your own business, doing something similar. You're going to be more successful. That's what the side hustle should really look like.
I mean,
Because it is hard. It's hard.
yeah. I mean, Peter said, right? She's bringing something that
Yeah.
does not. It's like a foreign language that doesn't
No.
exist. That doesn't exist. She described me something that doesn't exist in our community. A lot of folks, it's like they're working in a person working as a nurse doing something 360-degree different from what a nurse does as a side hustle, right? Maybe like working at a mechanic or in operations, but doing Uber as a side hustle, right? Or maybe Amazon. Completely different. What she's describing does not exist in our community. So the point is, if we want to skill up or something like that, we should focus on something we are already doing in our regular job as a side hustle to make it. I mean, do you agree with the point she's trying to make? Because that
No.
doesn't exist.
If you want to be
So,
successful.
so I do agree with her somewhat, but as far as, let's say, if I'm what you call it, a financial expert, and then I want to start like my own CPA business. Of course, you're gonna be successful in that majority of the time. But if you are also skilled in other business areas, yes, you can do that as a side hustle. But it's a great point that she raised. This is the reason why, if let's say you're working for one of the names that she called 3M, if in your employee policy, they're going to write it on there. If you get terminated or if you leave voluntarily, there's a non-compete agreement that you're going to sign, because they do not want you doing that same thing that you were doing at that business.
Yeah.
So,
but not forever. So sometimes they're
not
like,
forever. Yeah, like 2 years.
I mean, you don't have to. Right, sometimes you can even sign up not compete and do the same thing. Right, you don't have to like maybe go to their competitors. Right, you can have other clients and things like that.
Right.
You can take that skill set and apply it somewhere else. I guess that's even if the point that you stay in the consultant space. But to Ms. B's point, I want to drag this earlier. Right, you have a lot of like someone go ahead working in a different space, but then they are very handy. They know how to repair stuff, so they go and establish a construction or or something. They work in that regular job in the office, but then afterwards they go do something completely different. Are you saying, Miss B, that's a distraction that won't be successful?
You're just making it hard for yourself. You really are. And that's why some of these side hustles would mean just that, side hustles, right? I met a lady today, and she named about 5 different things, right? And I was trying to narrow it down to what particularly are you passionate about and just naturally skilled with. When people come to me for coaching, for business coaching or business technical assistance, that's some of the first things I try to figure out, right? It's like, if they're already in business, how did you get into this business? What about it are you passionate about? What natural talents do you have for this business that you're doing? If they're thinking about going into a business, I'm going to try and figure out what industry are they already in? How is they connected to this industry that they're trying to get in, right? Oftentimes, again, people like to cook, right? And not to go back into the restaurant thing, but this is why we see you like to cook. They like to cook. I may be working as a nurse, but I like to cook. And so I start cooking more for family and friends, and like, girl, you should really go and cook. And that's what has happened. I know a lady, she used to be working for Wells Fargo, a mortgage broker. She wrote a book about financial literacy, but right now she's successfully selling her sauces, Afri sauce, out of Kowalski. Kowalski is one of the most bougiest grocery stores. and I believe she's in all 11 of their locations
Oh
because she
wow.
loved to cook.
Mm.
But it was hard for her, right? Just because she loved to cook and made this sauce, and it was hard for her, right? We're talking 10 years before she started to get hit with, Ilhan Omar. Yes. And this is somebody who already has an educational background. She came from a Fortune 500 company, right? Working in the mortgage department, has financial literacy, wrote a book and everything. And just look how long it took her to be successful in the sauce industry, which is a very lucrative business. How
Yeah.
long it took her to be successful in the sauce industry, and that's why, because look at where she came from to the industry that she tried to enter in. So that's a great example of, you may be successful, but you're going to be finding easier success if you're moving from the same industry you're in to opening your own venture.
Oh, are you
But
see?
yeah, the other thing is
Jeff
right. What you,
Bezos, Jeff Bezos
mhm,
came from MIT. MIT, he has an MIT degree. And he was working in corporate before he opened an online bookstore. And I like to
mhm.
tell people it took 30 years for Amazon to get to where it is. And it's
Oh
not
yeah, yeah.
until 2018 before Jeff Bezos became a billionaire. So it doesn't happen overnight, right?
Hmm.
He went
Hmm.
from engineering degree at MIT to owning an online global distribution store. First, he was just selling books at first, but
Mhm.
now he sells everything on Amazon, right? So look at the time that it took him. If he had went to say, let me go build spaceships or something like that, he probably would have found success even a lot sooner, right? But he's somebody that left his industry that he got his degree in and had experience in and went into a totally different industry.
Well, you argued though, right? I mean, he's still kind of a stay in the technical space because what make Amazon successful, right? It's not so much a product they sell, but it's the but is
The
the whole business.
behind the scenes,
Yeah,
yes,
it's the
yes,
whole business model. Same day
yes,
delivery, right? Those things take technical
yes.
acumen. So I think his engineering stuff kind of help him in that because like Amazon kind of changed the whole model of retail as we know it
Yes,
today, right?
yes.
So that's a whole
That
different.
just-in-time delivery is key.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was
yeah.
something that Walmart
Yeah.
was really great at. They were the only one great in that just-in-time. And then Amazon came and took it to a whole nother level. So yeah,
Yeah, so I think his engineering stuff helping in our space and
there you go.
MIT,
If you look
MIT
at
as
it
a
that from
whole,
that way.
yeah, MIT as MIT to MIT won't hurt as well. But though, I mean, to the point though, right? I
Back to
think,
our folks.
yeah, yeah, yeah. To back to our folks, right, that are trying to, get this side hustle off the ground and make it happen. But the example you brought with the lady earlier, don't you think if she could have collaborated? Partner up, right? She could have still, right? She had her financial literacy. She was working at West Fargo in the mortgage department, right? She know how to cook. She could have looked for like-minded people or folks who, think like her that they could partner up. I don't think it was going to take 10 years for them to get or for her to get the where she eventually got, but it was going to work out, right? Is I think the thing that is distressing our community, like we don't want to work seek help or we don't want to collaborate or team up with one another. So Peterson, right, the example Miss B gave, I think, right, yeah, she know how to face sauce, and things that thing should have taken so much, maybe shorter time. It's just going to, find like-minded people like her who have the same passion.
Yeah, so
Peterson.
it's like people always say, you want to go fast, run,
Go alone.
go alone. But then if you want to go far, you go into a group. So it's true. Uh, we do not have the data to support that. If she had partnerships, that it wouldn't have taken her just as long. But to your point, if let's say she
Man, we don't
found,
have the data, but there are everyday examples of that thing. There's everyday
yeah,
example. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. We don't have to have raw data, but I mean, it's like there's every example of that, right? Is
Yes,
if it's going to partner up, I don't think it's going to take us 10 years to
yeah,
break through.
it wouldn't take that long because if you have people, let's say, if it's something that you are passionate about and you do not have the, let's say, the educational background for that particular area, if you
Mhm.
have somebody who not only are they passionate about it, but it's something that they are already into, it's of course it's going to make it much easier to penetrate that business area, and you can bring your idea and this person's idea and bring it together, and you will find success much sooner than we usually find in our community. Because like I stated earlier, we have this mindset of, I want to take all the credit for myself. I don't want to like involve other people. If I'm
Mhm.
starting my little side hustle,
Yeah.
once I start making money, I don't even want to tell anybody about it. That yeah, it's my it's my side hustle
Yeah.
because I feel like they're going to like, I don't know, steal from me or something like that. But it's all about this mindset of not trusting each other.
Okay. Miss B though, right? Let me steal the example that you brought about the source issue, right? She's saying, I mean, I'm glad you said she was in finance, right? She was and things like that. But right, she could have brought her financial acumen, right? Her skills, her financial skill set, found someone who was probably good at operations, right? You know what I mean? Take these different skill set from the community. Where in that she could have brought her particular skill set as she tried to argue earlier. Don't you think that could have made it easier, right? To even maybe that thing could have scaled up. Maybe they could have even be in Walmart or in Costco or in Sam's Club today if we are going around.
And that's the bottom line right there, right? Because where the work that I do, that's a lot of the things that we try to have conversations around is like, what does starting well look like, right? And oftentimes other communities are better at starting well compared to us because they don't do it alone. They
Yep.
don't do it alone. The Asian community, they are their own banking system. The Latino community, you will see the same way. You go into a Mexican restaurant, it's not any one person started by themselves. The family came, two brothers came, three sisters came together, some friends came together. Oftentimes, you go to any one of our Liberian owned businesses. Oh, I'm a 1 year old. I'm a 1 year old. I'm a 1 year. Why are you so proud to say that? Because you look like you're struggling. You look like you're struggling. You look like you're distressed because you just looking at the idea that if I have thousands, I like to you want to be a thousandaire by yourself, or you want to be a millionaire with other people, right? And that's just where we really struggle. And you're right, Abraham. It's like our inability to be able to come and do it together and find partners to do it with, it does take us longer to get to success. And it does make it harder for us to be successful. It's 2025. I know multiple people that are coming to me about starting a group home. They come by themselves. Bunch of nurses. You've been working at North Memorial. I'm sure you've been working at Fairview with your other fellow nurses. Those are your girls. Those are your peeps. You like those people. Y'all help each other. Y'all work as a team. Why are you trying to start this group home by yourself? Pray tell. Why? It takes every business at least 5 years before it's going to be. First of all, a lot of them fail in the first year. It's going to take you 5 years to start this business by yourself before you actually see a good return for you and your family now. Because I'm sure you're taking you and your family money, your 401k, or whatever you're taking, for you to see a return. If you got $50,000, take 25,000 of it and find somebody else another 25,000 and come together now to see that return. And now it's two nurses opening that group home together. First of all, you have the level of experience and expertise that is going into open that group home. Another thing they all want to come to me to help them open is event hall. Everybody wants to open their event hall. I used to be an event planner. I started buying my party stuff, putting it in the storage, in public storage. Public storage making a lot of money from our event planners. They all go online, they buy their tables, their chairs, put it in the public storage, right? But there's like good 3 of them that I'm really watching. I would like to approach them about investing with them eventually when I'm ready. There's 3 of them. They're very, very good. They have grown their clientele. And the first thing they want to do is buy a hall. Don't buy the hall. Please do a 3 to 5 year lease. Know what it is to be a landlord and own property first as a tenant before you step into owning a whole big commercial space. It's a different animal to own a commercial space. Trust me, period, people. But again, a lot of them coming to me to open event hall space. I'm just like, you know each other, you bump into each other, you respect each other's work. Why are you coming to do it by yourself? Why are you coming to do it by yourself? I'm talking to you guys tonight, please. Why are you coming to do it by yourself?
But yeah, I mean that's a good one. But folks, tonight we are discussing side hustle and entrepreneurship in our community, right? A lot of folks in our community, we are involved in a side hustle, man. Everywhere you turn, someone in a side hustle, right? I mean, it's busy, right? But we are all doing it by ourselves, right? And at the end of the day, it's not being scaled up, right? So there's a 1 hour show. We'll not drag it too much. We'll just stay here for a little bit more and we'll try to wrap it up. Peterson, man, as you stay on the side hustle, you're someone who want to scale up, how can they find creative ways, to fund that side hustle? I know you keep talking about, to me, it's not so much about going to the bank, right? Miss B talk about maybe like finding a partner, finding like-minded people. But what are other creative ways, right, that we can try to, maybe scale up that side hustle and make it successful?
Yeah, so I think the number one would be finding partnership, like Ms. B said. So, and it also depends on what that hustle is, because if you driving Uber as a side hustle, you say, "Hey, bring your car, let me bring my car, and we Uber together." No, so it all depends on what that side hustle is. But if it's something that you intend or you plan to say, okay, uh, in 5 years, where do I want this to be? Now you sit down and, like we discussed earlier, you come up with that business plan, and it's something that for a lot of immigrants we have no idea on, like business plan. Like what we said earlier, we are used to, oh, I take my little garden peppers and bring it over to this table and I sell it. And every Saturday is market day. I'm going to bring it right to this table. So I don't have that business plan to say, okay, who is my target audience? Am I always going to be selling to these three family of people that always come to my table, or is my intention to make this into something big? So we need to change that mindset of starting and just staying in one location. We need to learn to get educated on business principles and how to build a business. Even if it's something that you're starting alone and you dream about it, if you bring other people along, you will have other ideas on how to like the operations will work. Like Ms. B said earlier, if you are the
Hmm.
if you have the leadership skills to say, okay, I know how to manage people, or I know how to manage this. You cannot be a jack of all trades. You will not know every part of that business. So how to run it. So you will need experts. You will need people that have the same thinking process so that you can come together and make that successful.
Yeah, Miss B, right? As you coach folks, or as you gave folks expert advice, you coach them how to get along. When it comes to you, though, right? Are you asking them? I mean, why are you even going into this? What is a short term? What is a short term goal? What is your long term goal? Because I think that's what sometimes is missing in the whole thing. Right? Some people, as you said, like maybe like, hey, I got a couple of friends who go home and I see them driving a range. I mean, they're living a comfortable life. I said, man, maybe I want to venture into that. Sometimes, but are you asking those folks, man, what is your is it do you want to I mean you're a successful nurse making your money and stuff like that, but do you want to go into this nursing home business because maybe you see someone, I mean they're making a lot of money, man, maybe like 60 100 150K a month, and then you say, oh, I can go and do the same thing, but without then like not thinking about maybe the vision, the mission, or what it is that they want to accomplish. What are you hearing?
You know, oftentimes is I'm getting so startup definition is anybody who's been in business from year 1 to 10 years
Mhm,
is considered a startup.
mhm,
And so I'm finding a lot of these folks are probably in 10 plus years of business. And at this point, they're like, oh, I've been doing this business, things are not going right. And, or now they're finally looking into just having a business plan. And then, and sometimes I'm like, more oftentimes when you think about venture capitalists and the new businesses that are being started, venture capitalists, before they even invest in your company, they're going to say, what is your a succession plan? Meaning, at what point do you want to sell this business, right? and they want to know what's your plan for selling before they even give you investment money. So when I'm
But
having conversations with folks nowadays, I try to bring some of that venture capital type mindset, because even if I'm not investing capital, I'm still investing time, right, into your business by providing you the technical assistance and the coaching. And I want to know, am I investing this into a business that really has the ability to scale up to the point where they'll eventually sell the company, or, to grow it to different branches or different arms? And so, yes, those conversations come up. And the main thing is that they have, right now, by that time they're coming to me, they have given up their 9 to 5 and they're solely 100% into their business. Yes.
okay,
And it's make it or break it. They feel like they have no other choice but to make this business work, which is very unfortunate sometimes. And so we start on a plan and a strategy that hopefully will make the business to start a profit, and move forward successfully. But if I get people in there who are fresh, it's not even registered, they don't have a plan, they're just tossing around ideas, I do my best to say, okay, why are you doing this by yourself? Do you not know anybody else? Have you worked in this industry before? What level of expertise? Because if you haven't worked in the industry, you don't have any experience in this industry, you're really already setting yourself up for hard time and for failure. And I'm not the only one that has it. Like I said, if you're working with a venture capital, a VC, where they're investing millions and millions of dollars, these are the very frank and honest conversation that they're going to have with you. Not that I'm trying to deter you or discourage you. I want you to really be in the business and thinking about, what are the things, be in the weeds of it. What are the things that I'm going to have to deal with, the barriers, obstacles, and let me really think through these before I start this business.
okay. But I mean, Peterson, where she brought a group. It's someone they seem like it's someone already been in that thing for 10 years, you know, and they still try to, get up. I mean, get up their feet. Don't
Mm.
you think, first of all, from the get go, from the beginning, there was no mission or vision, there was no goal? What a short term, because if you've been in that thing for 10 years, I would just leave it as my side hustle instead of even trying to say it's a make it or break it type of thing. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, so with those folks, I think one problem they're facing is they're not adaptable and they're not being flexible. So you have to adapt to the trends. You have years ago when we came to the States first, Walmart never used to sell alcohol. But as time went on, they said, oh, okay. They come here and they buy everything else, but then they go next door to the liquor store and they buy alcohol. Why they're not bringing it here? So, but we started to say, oh, I wonder want to sell GB. And then that's what GB shop.
Tell me about it. Oh my gosh.
And then year one, year two, you have the same people coming in every day after their soccer game, and they come in, they eat, and then they go about
And
their
sometimes
business.
you folks can get tired. Your customers sometimes can. I mean, yeah, to your point, you have to bring in new clientele, right? If you
Yeah, you
just stick
have
to
to
this,
bring in new clientele. It's
yeah.
like what Ms. B said earlier. We have to diversify when it comes to the products and services that we offer. So if you are in the hospitality or restaurant business, you can't just say, oh, I'm going to just serve one type of food, like West African dish. Even if it's still West African dish, like you need to mix it up a little bit. Even these fast food places around, once in a while you will see Popeyes. Was it like 2 or 3 years ago? They brought, I don't know if it was certain type of chicken or whatever it was that people were going crazy over because it was something new they brought to
Yeah. The basketball
Yeah.
player opened it up. I forgot what it's called. Chicken something. Yeah.
yeah. So every now and then, if you go to Taco Bell today, by next month they will have something new. It will be like new menu, and then it will be new item. It might be a different variation of whatever they have, but they make it look new. So a lot of the folks that are stuck like on the ground and they cannot scale up, they're now looking for a way to go up, is because they don't have that mindset to adapt and change to the trend.
Or the other thing, the other thing, right? Like you just mentioned here, right? I feel like even like I think West Africans, right, and Liberians as a whole know how to read the season. I mean, even though someone that can put make it in it, sometimes, you know, you know. things like that. But
Please break it
no,
down for us. What exactly is the McGintic? Is that the
man,
accent or the MSG?
there's some seasoning, man. When you taste that food, you say, man, this food is over seasoned. That's basically it. This food is
Okay.
yeah, it's over seasoned, right? It's like so much seasoning in it. And say, man, it looks good, but or it tastes good, but man, it's like the season is triple or
Yes.
double. But like even the chicken, like even the chicken wing, sometimes we eat it. I mean, we eat out, right? I think if a Liberian person seasons a chicken for you, that would look really good. If we can
Yeah.
even try to scale those up, to your point earlier, right? Peterson is like, like every time you go, there's different menu. And I think sometimes there are some Liberians who know how to like. Sometimes you go to some homes, right? They know how to face different like things, like and
Mhm.
it'd be so good if they can just try to scale these things up, right? To me, is I mean, sometimes to your point earlier, Miss B, right? You don't have to have like 10 meat or different stuff in our food. The little finger food that Brent know how to fix sometimes, man, those things to me, those things can
They don't
easily
have sides. Their menu don't have sides. That's what you're getting at. We don't even offer chicken wings on our menus when you go to the Liberian
No.
restaurant. As much as we know how to fry chicken wings, we don't offer chicken wings. Like, and even my boss, she's from Kenya. She said, Denise,
why are you not
it's hard
advising
for
your
me to even just
clients?
go get a side of rice from y'all. And
Why are you not advising your clients
I
I mean,
tell
what's
them,
missing?
Abraham,
What's
I
missing?
tell them they don't know how to do the menu. First of all, they don't even know how to do the menu. You have
So
to have
don't you
appetizer. You're supposed
so
to
do we
have
need to
your
bring a so do
Yep.
we need to bring a restaurant expert to teach them how to do menus?
we offer food management courses.
Oh, your
I
organization offer.
Yes, food management courses. We will literally pay for them to go through a food management course. I have yet to have one Liberian come to me.
Okay.
Oftentimes, African American are taking these management classes. We offer entrepreneur classes called, planning. We do it in partnership or even course starters where we'll take you through a 10 weeks, 10 sessions, right? And then even at the end of the session, we offer you ability to have access to a small loan to start you with lending or even give you a grant. My people don't take advantage of none of that.
So I think we here Cycle Podcast. I think I mean we need to get that information to our community, right? So what you're doing, I mean, what you are doing here. I know Peterson, maybe this might not apply to you because this is a Twin City stuff. So you know, you are we
Minnesota
need to
residents only,
yeah,
unfortunately.
so but hey, but that is something we need to inform our community about. If that's something your organization is doing, I think we need to amplify that. We need to elevate that. We need to let our community know. I mean, that is it, man. This free resource is available to you. Like, you should take advantage of it and make things happen for yourself. Because the one thing we care about here in our Cycle Park, we want to build wealth. We want to build African wealth. We want to build Black wealth. Right here in this country, I'm not talking about going across the ocean to try to, I mean, to try to build that wealth. We need to build it right here, right here. But as we wrap up tonight, though, man, is someone, do you think, first of all, right, let me ask you guys one last question, right? The whole side hustle thing, if someone wants to establish a side hustle, just as a side hustle, and maybe keep that 9 to 5 with that regular job, is that advisable? Peterson, I'll start with you. Should they even do that? If the plan is just to maybe, what, this is something I just want to earn extra income. I mean, is that advisable? Or would that just be, as I said earlier, be a distraction? No need to do it.
No, I mean, if you if it's something you are passionate about, or like you said, if it's just for extra cash, but instead of taking that time and saying, oh, okay, I'm going to drop Uber for the next 6 months every day after work for 4 hours. If you take a week or 2 weeks of those 4 hours and sit down and actually plan something, like, okay, what can I do with the time that I have? Let's say, even if you are a family person, but if you have that time that you can invest into other things, you can sit down and plan. If you take a course for a month, if you take like some workshop or something for a month in business planning and things like that, you will be able to be more successful than spending that 6 months, 3 hours a day or 4 hours a week driving Uber.
Ms. B, what's your take on that?
Should I have my 9 to 5 and have a side hustle?
Yeah. Is that I mean, to Peterson point, right? Let me just maybe add an angle that Peterson brought in here. if if you can take that, I mean, the time you are doing maybe driving that Uber or that Lyft or doing that Amazon just to earn that extra income, you could take that time because in that, I mean, the point I think Peterson is trying to raise here, right? In that situation, time become a precious commodity. And I think maybe what we don't appreciate much in our community is the time value of money. Time is really, if you can really utilize your time the right way, I think it can go the long way. So, I mean, do you
So
side hustle just for the sake of earning that extra little change, or should you take that time and maybe do something to better, maybe like that might have better ROI, return on investment?
yeah, that's why I don't think you should be doing a side hustle if you have your job. If your job is paying you well, eventually you decide I'm going to leave this job and go and open this thing. And when I'm leaving this job and open this thing, I have finances to support me to go and do this thing. You can't do both. Even the people who are in one business and then right now you say you own a group home and then now you say I'm going to go invest in a beauty salon, I'm going to go invest in a restaurant, or I'm going to, but because I have my group home, I still have a finance background, I'm going to go do my CPA. You can't do all those things all at once. You
Mhm.
have to pay attention to one thing. That whole multitasking thing, now you notice they don't ask you that on applications anymore. So scientifically, they said the brain does not multitask and never did before. I tell my husband that all the time because he used to really hype on the fact he can multitask. I said, no, honey, there's no such thing. So the reality is you need to focus on one business. Bill Gates focused on Microsoft. Jeff Bezos focused on Amazon. Any of the companies you're looking at now, Elon Musk, Tesla, any of the businesses that you're looking at now that were successful, they decided they're going to focus on this one thing and they're going to grow it. It makes no sense to have one foot in a 9 to 5 and put another foot into a side hustle. And I don't want to be a hypocrite. Investing in real estate is not a side hustle for me. I'm an investor that still have a 9 to 5 job that I show up to as an associate director, and I'm investing in real estate. My husband and I own a car dealership. So that means what? My husband does not have no other job but to show up every morning and run our car dealership. He himself, at some point, decided in 2014, I'm leaving my job and I'm going to go into this business full time. And
Mm.
that's what he has done. So I exemplify us to show that we cannot do two things at once. There's no such thing as having your side hustle and having your 9 to 5.
Okay. So, well, I mean, that's a great point. But folks, as I said, tonight there's a 1 hour show. Sometimes we like to go a little bit because the conversation can get really interesting, can get really juicy. So we like to push it a little bit. But as we wrap up, man, Peterson, man, someone who's thinking about, a side hustle, as I said, right, in our community, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people, everybody want to sometimes even want to start a business. Everybody want to start business. The problem is, right, to your point earlier, everybody just want to go solo, want to do it solo. But as we leave here tonight, to wrap up tonight, what's the message you want to leave our community? How can we take this entrepreneur mindset that we have, the resiliency that we have in our community? How can we take it and ready turn it into building wealth?
Yeah, thank you. And everybody that tuned in tonight, thank you. Thank you, Miss B. And thanks, Ed. Uh, for me, I'll say, like you said, we have a lot of people in our community that are business minded and they have that entrepreneurship like mindset. But the thing, we don't trust each other. If I have a business that I'm thinking about, if I'm thinking, if I go and tell Miss B, maybe she will steal my idea and go start it. But we need to change our mindset so that we can think about coming together and partnering together. So if I have an idea and it's just burning on my heart or on my mind, but I don't know how to even articulate it, if I go to Miss B, she might help me to like break it down so that I can understand it better and be like, oh wait, I didn't think about that. Now she becomes an asset, and we can go into partnership and say, okay, well, She has the technical part of it. She can think in the like the problem solving portion, and then I can think of more of like the operation side, and we can go into business together. But we need to let go this mindset of, oh, everything I have to keep it within me. I have to keep it within me. Like I said earlier, if I'm working at a job and I know a friend that I know they're qualified to do that job, and then a position becomes open. Instead of me being a good neighbor and saying, "Hey, give me your resume. Do you have a resume handy? I can take it to my job so that I can put you in." I'm not guaranteed that they're going to hire you, but at least I can get you in the door. But a lot of immigrants, especially West Africans, would never do that. We we, so we need to let go of that mindset, and I think it has to do with our cultural background
Yeah.
and how we're brought up. So we just need to change that mindset. But thank you all for tonight.
Yeah. Miss B, as the coach, as someone who's advising folks who want to start a business and coming to you, someone who has been in that side hustle business for a long time, right? Folks listening to you here tonight who have been doing side hustle for a long time, but one is skilled up but can't really get to it. What advice you have for them tonight? What should they do? Should they keep on that side hustle or just abandon that thing and and still with that regular job, whatever, what is 9 to 5 or whatever it is that they are doing for a living?
First of all, being able to grow wealth is a everyday investment. You invest in you're investing monthly, regular, daily basis. And so do not impair your family's ability or your own ability to grow wealth in your job. You can grow wealth being in your 9 to 5. The thing what happens with a 9 to 5 is when you retire, you leave that job there. You can't pass it on to your kids. So what we're often finding is that we want to start something that we can be able to start to grow that wealth, because growing wealth is accumulative. It doesn't grow overnight. It takes years. And we want to be able to start something that we can be able to move on to the kids. And so now by the time your kids are having kids, that your empire has grown, and it's your grandchildren 2 generations later before we really start to see that wealth that you have built. It's not going to happen overnight for us. Whatever my husband and I are doing now is not only for our kids, but for our grandkids, the 2 generations from now, before we'll see the wealth that we have built over the time. And so I said, go and find somebody to talk to. I am not sitting here claiming to know it all. I work with a group of other experts as well, right? So I'm not going to be your be all if you should come to Acer to get some coaching. We have people who've been in the field for 30 plus years in giving business advice, business technical assistance. So that's just so you can know that off the top of the head. Go and find somebody. Have a conversation. Networking is so important. You'll see a lot of companies promoting networking. A lot of business coaches, influencers are going to promote networking. Networking is at the top for all Fortune 500 executives. If you're a CEO, you are not in the office. You're out there networking. Go and find somebody to talk to before you decide, do I keep my job or do I take this side hustle to the next level? Because you're going to have to make that decision. You cannot continue to do both at the same time.
Well, thank you so much for that. I think what you are alluding to here is generational wealth, and that's what we don't have in our community. We got to have this building generational wealth, having that mindset to build generational wealth, because it's not only for you, but it's for generation. That's the advantage the other folks have over us. We complain all the time, right? Once we die, we go is that we don't even do our kids. First of all, we leave our kids in deficit. Deficit. The black man mindset is by the time I die, I'm going to leave my children in deficit. And generation after generation, we keep passing down that deficit. And we're not going to get ahead until we can what? Erase that deficit mindset and get a what? Generation, building generational wealth mindset. But folks, it was a great conversation tonight. Thank you so much, Peterson. Thank you so much, Miss B. And we're gonna be back here on Sunday.
Okay, yeah, now.
If you like, okay, yeah.
There you go.
I was trying to say we have a Sunday. We have 4 days a week. Right? We have a Sunday special. If you like social hour, want to come and discuss social issue, I like to say, if you like man woman business, Sunday. If you like entertainment, Sunday is going to be a show, right? Sunday, and it's beginning this Sunday at 8 p.m. So Inner Circle now is 4 days a week. So Sunday is the start, 8 p.m. every Sunday. It's a social hour. Anything, all the gossip, that one is like we'll be competing with Shadow Rabba now on that one. Anything or the entertainers or whatever it is, right? Every gossip. If you are interested as a panelist to join that, it's gonna be juicy though. I mean, but hey man, what we're trying to do here is, I mean, the community is growing and folks are being requesting entertainment and social hours. So we'll be bringing that to you every Sunday at 8 p.m. So hope you can join us this Sunday. It's going to be great. It's going to be a great conversation. And hey, man, but this is your show. This is the Inner Circle podcast. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been a great show. Thank you, my man Peterson from the windy city of Chicago. And
Yes,
Miss B,
sir.
as always, right? Your entrepreneur, your wealth of knowledge, your entrepreneurship, and your passion about building black wealth. I mean, ready when we're discussing these kind of topics. So thank you so much, guys. See all of you on Sunday or next week, whatever that is. Thank you guys. Good night.
Good
In a
night.
circle
Thank you,
Good
everyone.
night,
podcast where
everyone.
hearts unite, sharing our truths, bringing hope to the